Hey guys, it's Kyle from Kyle's Kayaks, and today I'm going to be breaking down the Brazos River trip we just had, what I took, what I recommend, some tips, tricks, and ultimately, hopefully you learn something that makes your trip go smooth. So the first and foremost to get out of the way is the kayak. You need to ultimately find something that's going to be comfortable for you to be on the water for 3 days. I would highly recommend the kayak cushion, the seat cushion. Make sure you got a good back support and make sure that it can hold all the gear that you need. I know that I personally take the Hobie Outback. I really enjoy it. This is my third trip with it. I feel like it has a great carrying capacity. It's comfortable. The drive is good on my knees. It actually paddles really well as well. And the next thing would be to plan out your campsites. Make sure that you have enough time to set up your tent, get cooking utensils ready, get the fire built. And so try to plan out and keep track of your mileage. And I know that's something that we struggle with every time is once it starts getting close to, 5, 6 o'clock, we need to start finding out where we're going to camp. And we've got it down pretty much to a science now. We have campsites picked out along the river that we try to go for. So it seems to work out. But once you get those two things out of the way, the next thing you need to worry about is your gear. And that is super dependent on the person, how you like to pack. But I would say some of the necessities would be something like a cooler. I really like this Arctic 20 quart cooler and this little backpack cooler I set on the back of my seat. What I do is I freeze water bottles instead of ice and I stick them in the cooler and use those as drinking water slash cooling, and I find that works out really well. I also take 2 gallons of extra water for cooking and to fill up the water bottles after I finish drinking them. Something else that is a must-have is a dry bag like this right here. Make sure you keep everything that you care about dry, clothes, extra clothes, anything you need. And then also this box here. I know it doesn't look like much, but it's so nice to have everything. It's not really waterproof, but it's protected from the elements. And I keep all my cooking stuff in there, anything like my jet boil, stuff like that. Make sure it stays dry and comfortable. Another thing I highly recommend is a PDF. Make sure you're safe on the water. I fell out in a lake in December and was super thankful for my PDF. And I just know that I will always wear one. Another thing I highly recommend is a good tent. I spent the first 3 trips in a $20 Walmart tent where my feet hung out the edge and I could never actually fully stretch out. And I finally upgraded to a full-size 2-person tent. I tried to do a tent hammock. They're called a Kamak Sunda. It's a really nice tent. I just figured out that I'm a side sleeper and sleeping in a hammock is not ideal for side sleepers. So I spent the next night sleeping on my back and it was wonderful. Another thing I highly recommend, almost above anything else, is a good sleeping pad. This Lost Horizon one has memory foam built in. It is probably the largest thing that I take on my trip out of all my gear, but it's so important to get a good night's rest after you've been on the water for 8 to 10 hours a day paddling or pedaling. Sleep is probably the most important thing, and I can tell you with the utmost certainty that my second day out on the river was the best because I got great night's sleep, and I think it's all because of the pad. It's worth it to spend the extra money and get a good sleeping pad so you feel relieved in the morning. And ultimately, this covers most of the necessities that I can think of. But if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. And we've been on about 4 now, so I feel like I'm decently qualified to answer some questions. Thanks. Bye.